So in the era of the kindergarten, this is what I tend to do, and I think we all tend to do this. These are the extremes we go to. In the era of kindergarten, parents can become promoters of their kids, right? You know, any of you who work in education, you're a teacher, you're a principal, you're an administrator. I mean, you see this, right? My kids are the best. My kids deserve the best. You see this in the scripture where Rebecca is scheming for Jacob. But, you know, my friend Phil Christensen, our speaker at Men's Retreat, when he applied at a job years ago, his first youth ministry job, he thought, man, this is going to be the best church in the world, because in the interview, the people interviewing me said, hey, you know what? There's nothing too good for our kids. There is nothing too good for our kids. And after about 6 weeks there, he realized, wow, there is nothing too good for these kids. This is a terrible place to work. These parents are so focused on their kids. It's like, I can't just do an event. It has to be the best event. Right? I just can't have a youth group. I have to have the biggest and shiniest and best youth group. These kids have to feel like pampered, and they need to leave Sunday school feeling amazing about themselves, or parents think I'm failing. These are the promoters. And then parents can become just merely protectors. Now, we're supposed to protect our kids, but we're not supposed to protect them from every consequence. We're certainly not supposed to protect them from Jesus. Like you see this in the scripture with David and the whole situation with Amnon and Tamar and that rape, and how he didn't do anything about it because, you know, they're all his kids, and it's all good. It's all good. You know, this is the parent who their son gets a DWI, and their response is they get an attorney. Well, what are you going to get next time? A casket? It's easy to be promoters. It's easy to be just protectors. Some parents are peacekeepers. These are the parents who say, hey, you know, I don't want to make any waves. You know, this is Eli in 1 Samuel chapters 1 and 2. Eli's sons, he's the high priest, are involved in all kinds of wickedness. Like these kids are messed up, and they are dishonoring God, and they are the sons of the high priest. They're priests themselves. Like they're taking the best parts of the sacrifice. They're bringing women in who are bringing sacrifices, and they're having sex with them in the court of, you know, the tabernacle. I mean, these guys are messed up. The high priest, their dad, does nothing about it until God speaks to him and says, why do you scorn my sacrifice and offering? Why do you honor your sons more than me? And he finds out when you put second things first, you lose both. But if you put first things first, you get both the first thing and the second thing. Like this is the parent who their kid says, you know, I don't really want to go to youth group. I just don't want to go. I don't feel like I know anybody there. You know, people aren't really nice to me. I just don't feel like I fit. I'm not learning anything. It's really boring. And you're like, okay, honey, I understand. Don't want to make waves. Now, if they tried that on Monday morning, what would you do? I don't really want to go to high school today. No, nobody really likes me there. I don't feel like I fit in. You know, it's really boring. I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it. Well, that's great. Eat your Wheaties. You're going to school. Of those two things, what's truly more significant? For them to learn about the things of God? What He's like, His character, what He expects of them? Or math? Like, I'm a fan of math, but I'm going to have to go with Jesus. These are the peacekeepers. These are the people who fall into family-olatry, who fall into kindergarten, who fall into child-centered parenting, like we all tend to. And then if we react against that, what do we go to? A reaction against child-centered parenting, if we go to the opposite, isn't Christ-centered parenting. Like I know people who reject this model and they do just the opposite. It's called me-centered parenting. Hey, live for somebody else. Live for your kids. That's okay. It beats living for yourself. You go from one extreme to the other, and the second extreme you choose is worse than the first. Christ-centered parents, this is how Christ-centered parents see parenting. Parenting is an act of worship. That's what parenting is. That's what Jesus is saying here. Jesus is saying, see your relationships in the right priority. Place me first and see this as an act of worship. Give me your kids and I'll give them back better than ever. Give me your spouse and I'll give her back. Give me your career. Give me your hopes and dreams. And I'm going to give you something far better than that. Place me first. And you get the second things. And you get the third things. You know, the hope and prayer of a Christ-centered parent is having kids who live not unto themselves, but unto the Lord. Kids who live a Godward life. And the only tool for parents like us who want to do that, the only tools in our arsenal are prayer and faithfulness. No promises, no guarantees, but you can end every day feeling like a success, not because your kid's awesome, but because Jesus is.